The 1982-83 college football season concluded with Joe Paterno's Penn State Nittany Lions defeating the then undefeated Georgia Bulldogs in the Sugar Bowl 27-23 for its first consensus national championship, just edging out undefeated SMU. But what if the college football postseason had existed as it does today? Would the Nittany Lions still have reigned supreme? Would Heisman Trophy winner Herschel Walker and the Georgia Bulldogs got revenge? Would Tom Osborne have claimed his first national title as head coach 12 years early? Or would the undefeated Pony Express and SMU prove they were worthy? Let's find out. We start things off in the Orange Bowl as the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs, led by Heisman Trophy winning running back Herschel Walker, take on the number 4 Mustangs of Southern Methodist, headlined by running back tandem Eric Dickerson and Craig James, appropriately named the Pony Express. We start things off early in the first as Herschel Walker would make his way into the end zone for the first score of the day. SMU would respond though by marching right down the field themselves and getting Eric Dickerson in from 2 yards out. Georgia would then find itself back on the board as the first quarter was coming to a close, with this field goal. SMU would also find itself back on the scoreboard near the start of the second quarter, but they would find the end zone as Dickerson would take his pitch out through several Bulldogs defenders into the end zone. Georgia would respond quickly though, as Walker would find the end zone again. However, SMU would march right back as quarterback Lance Henry would find Gary Smith over the middle on a 3rd and 6 for a touchdown. They then get a quick turnover and put this field goal through the uprights before halftime. And they'd follow that up by taking the opening possession of the second half right down the field before Henry would find Smith for another 6. Georgia would then finally break their scoring drought as quarterback John Lassinger would hit Clarence K on a streak in the end zone to bring it back to a 7-point game. They would then get the ball back quickly and Walker would tie things up to head into the fourth. Unfortunately, SMU would respond by driving right back down the field and getting Dickerson into the end zone for his 3rd score of the day. And that would do it, as SMU would come out victorious in the Battle of Undefeated 38-31 to head to the Sugar Bowl National Championship to take on the winner of the Rose Bowl. And it is that game we now head over to, as Joe Paterno's Penn State Nittany Lions take on Tom Osborne's Nebraska Cornhuskers, as both coaches search for their opportunity to claim their first national title as head coach. Nebraska would receive the opening kickoff and finish that drive off with this field goal. Penn State would easily respond though, marching right down the field and getting Kurt Warner across the goal line to take the lead. They'd then get a stop and quickly get Warner across the goal line again for another score. Nebraska would then finally respond with a touchdown of their own as Mike Rozier would get across the line. Penn State would respond strongly though as Todd Blackledge would hit Greg Garrity over the middle for another Nittany Lions score. Rozier would not be upstaged though as he and the Husker offense would engineer a drive right back down the field and get him across the goal line with just a few ticks left in the half. Then after a quiet first couple of drives to start the second half, the Huskers would make it a 1-point game, nailing this long field goal. Penn State would then finally wake up in the second half with a scoring drive of their own, as Blackledge would hit Kevin Baugh for a score. Nebraska would not be knocked out yet though, as they would continue their offensive momentum and get Rozier in for another score, and with a full quarter remaining they would elect to kick the extra point to keep it a 1-point game. The decision would not backfire and they would come up with a stop on defense and take the lead with this field goal. They'd then add another later in the fourth, extending their lead to 5. And that would do it, as the Huskers defense holds the Nittany Lions offense scoreless in the fourth, to win at 33-28 to advance to the Sugar Bowl National Championship against number 4 SMU. We now find ourselves in New Orleans, Louisiana, as the number 3 Nebraska Cornhuskers take on the number 4 SMU Mustangs for the 1982 National Championship in the Sugar Bowl. SMU would find themselves pinned back on their own end zone early in the game, and Henry would take a bad sack for a safety. Nebraska would then take that safety punt and turn it into points, kicking this field goal to make it a 5-0 game early. Nearing the end of the first quarter, SMU would finally put up points for themselves, kicking a field goal of their own. Then after a quiet second quarter, Nebraska would add another field goal to head into the half, up 8-3. The end zone would then finally be found midway through the third, as Dickerson would find his way in from almost 10 yards out. They'd then line up for the 2-point conversion, and he'd power himself in for the 3-point lead. Nebraska would then finally equalize things in the closing minutes of the fourth to send this game to overtime, tied at 11. Nebraska would win the toss and elect to play defense, but would allow SMU to get the shovel out to Dickerson to get the edge and take the advantage in the first overtime. Nebraska would get near the end zone but would be faced with a fourth, and Turner Gill would take a bad sack, ending the game. SMU finishes the season undefeated, to claim the 1982 National Championship, defeating Nebraska in the Sugar Bowl. Thank you all for watching this edition of the Historic College Football Playoff. If you have a specific season you'd like to see, please leave it in the comments and I will fast track it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you did not, or your team lost, feel free to leave a dislike. And if you have not already, please subscribe. And feel free to sound off in the comment section about pretty much anything and everything. Thanks again for watching. Bye.